Disclaimer, I've only known her 5 days, but
Barely.
yeah, 4 days maybe.
Friday, Saturday,
Friday. But
Sunday.
we've pretty much met every day,
Yeah.
and it's just positive energy about you. You're always laughing. So what's the secret behind that?
So I was at this, I think it was like a dinner my mom's friend hosted or something, right? And I laughed at something and she's like, has anyone ever told you you have a very contagious laugh?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I know, you know? Our capacity to experience our light can only be expanded through our capacity to experience our darkness. Because your darkness, it's the way I see it, it's untangled light.
When did you have this realization that you're not going to run away from it?
The first time was 2021.
What happened in 2021?
I almost ended my life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wiser Together with your host, Parmeet Kumar. Unfortunately, Anastasia couldn't be with us here today. Thank you for joining us and supporting us. We truly appreciate your support. Today, okay, this is a good start. Today we have Aeina P with us here today. I would like you to introduce yourself because I will not do justice. So
mainly because he doesn't know me.
truth be told, but okay, go on.
So professionally, I'm a mindset coach, NLP trainer. I've done neurotransformation therapy, author, speaker, whatever. I feel like those things don't really hold too much meaning, but it comes down to the fact that, I love growing and I love working on myself. What?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
That's just me. Just me.
I think I'm just, like a being on this experience, a spiritual being having a human experience. That's what I'd say.
That's good. That's very heavy for everybody listening. I'm sure most of us don't understand half of those, things that you do. But we'll get into it. That's what this is about. But before we get into that, we have a very disclaimer. I've only known her 5 days, but
barely.
Yeah, 4 days maybe.
Friday, Saturday. Sunday.
But we've pretty much met every day,
Yeah.
and it's just been a vibe. Like, she's just an amazing person to be around. That's what she says about. No, she's just a very fun, jolly.
Yeah,
you've got a positive energy about you. You're always laughing. So what's the secret behind that? Let's start there because we started this podcast with a laugh.
With a laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just something that comes naturally. I think
it's always been like this.
It's always been. And there was a point in my life when I, didn't laugh as much or at all. And I think when I got my spark back, I was like, oh my God, of course.
So you always had it, and there was a point where you sort of
I remember
clouded it, and then
my
you got it back.
earliest memory is when I was, I think, 13 or 14, of my that as attached to my laugh. And I met this.
What's the memory?
That's what I'm telling you.
Very impatient.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, go on.
So I was at this, I think it was like a dinner my mom's friend hosted or something, right?
Yeah.
And then I was meeting those people, and then she goes and I laughed at something, and she's like, has anyone ever told you you have a very contagious laugh?
Yeah.
And that was probably the first time I remember hearing it.
Right.
But ever since then, every time I hear it, it's like, yeah, I know,
So that's when you first registered it consciously.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then now it just...
Yeah, and I've realized that it brings joy.
You don't resist.
Yeah, because it, life can be heavy. And if you can add a moment of joy in anyone's life, really, I think it's worthwhile.
Doesn't take a lot. So
yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay, so
authentic.
With emotions, right?
Yeah.
The higher you go, the more place you create to go lower as well.
Yeah.
So to flip the perspective a little bit, because you've sort of experienced this emotion of happiness at such a higher level,
yeah,
do you also experience sadness at a much lower level?
Yeah. I've realized that our capacity to experience our light can only be expanded through our capacity to experience our darkness, because your darkness, it's the way I see it, it's untangled light.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like when you go through it, the pain, the whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
The deeper you go through it instead of avoiding it, we have, or at least I used to have, this false narrative that told me that, oh, don't go through your pain, run away from it.
Yeah.
And at some point, life stops you and
Makes you question that.
makes you question that and makes
Yeah.
you look at it.
Yeah.
So when you do look at it, and then you're just like, you know what, I am in the depths of hell. I'm just gonna go ahead
Yeah.
and see. Like, I'm just gonna go ahead and like walk it, because there's no other way. Every road leads to hell.
When did you have this realization that you're not gonna run away from it and you're gonna face it?
I think it was a gradual, like, I'd say the first time was 2021.
2021.
Yeah, and I think it just deepened.
What happened in 2021?
I almost ended my life.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. I didn't know that.
yeah. If you read my book, you would know.
I can't read it in a day. Is it in book?
Yeah, it is. I have my
So
suicide
you're pretty
note
open
in the
about
book.
it then.
Yeah.
Do you wanna?
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
I was I'd gotten married in 6 days. The
Mhm.
whole in 2021 October.
Yeah.
And 2021, it was March. It was 9th March, and I feel like, so I had always been working like my whole life. Okay, like ever since I got out of college,
Yeah.
because I was like, my uni was virtual, so I was like, okay, cool, I'm doing this virtually, so I might as well just pick up like a job or something, be
That's
productive
virtual.
or whatever. So I'd always had a very busy schedule, right? And no matter what happened in my life, like when I was 13, my little sister died, and so on and so, like there was a lot of grief throughout my life, right? But my schedule never allowed for me to come face to face
Experience
with
that,
it, right? So it would just be repressed and repressed. So when I got married and I moved, and that was the first time I didn't
You were
have
alone,
work,
and yeah.
and I had no one around me. I was in a foreign country. I didn't know anyone there. And that's when, like, all the walls started closing in. So it was like, it was dark and it was heavy. And I think I tried to, like, make sense of it, because I'd been to therapy. I'd
Yeah.
gone to like psychiatrists. I didn't see the value for myself in those experiences. But anyways, so I kept going, and in March, I was like, I lost my faith that there was a God or anything.
This
And
is
I
how
was
many
like,
months into you moving to a new country,
This was
newly married as well?
so October, November, December.
5-6 months.
Yeah, and
Tipping point.
yeah, it was just not working out,
Yeah.
from the get-go.
Yeah.
And there was so much pressure to make it work.
Yeah.
And I was 21, right? So like I was too young to even be married.
Yeah.
And then the pressure of like how our culture tells you that, oh, like, stick it out and like compromise and
Different topic altogether. but
yeah.
Yeah.
so I kept going even though
Yeah.
I didn't want to, right?
Yeah.
And so the weight of that and the weight of everything else, and just like this resistance between us, I was like I don't think there's a God out there, because if he was, then how could this happen? How could anyone justify putting one person through
Were you a
that much
believer
pain?
in God up until that point?
Yeah, I was born Muslim.
Yeah.
I used to pray, but like slowly, like I stopped believing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was like, it can't be that there's a God and he's okay with this,
Yeah.
because it's not fair. And it wasn't just that one thing, right? It was like every single thing I'd experienced up until that moment. And I was like, no, because I would look at my friends' lives and they seemed pretty normal, quote unquote. Like they weren't,
From your
like,
perspective,
from my
yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
like they weren't like losing siblings and like there wasn't that much death, first of all. And like that was the biggest thing for me, like, like, why is everyone dying,
Yeah.
So that wasn't the first time I wanted to end my life, but it was the last time. I had wanted to before as well, but I never, like, anyways, so
Was it the lowest point of your life?
it was
Yeah.
at the time. Yeah.
At the time?
Yeah.
So you
Like,
experienced points lower.
but in different ways,
Okay.
That was lowest in terms of like life meant nothing moving forward,
Yeah.
So it was,
Seems pretty.
yeah. It was like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. I was home alone. And I was like, I think this is it.
Yeah.
I'd been having the thoughts for like 3 days. And then I was like, I can't do it anymore.
Did you always have thoughts like this? And this is when it sort of aggravated and you
like
sort of felt the pressure and you were alone, you didn't have anyone?
So I think from the first time that I, like, wanted to end my life, like, I don't think that the desire, or it wasn't even desire, I think it was like seeking an out, right?
Yeah.
So at the time, like, I found a way out to cope with the pain, whatever.
Yeah.
And each time that's what would happen, but I would never heal the thing, right? It would just,
you're pushing the thoughts away
Yeah.
and away, and
Defer it.
you find
Yeah.
escape in
Yeah.
the real world to push
Yeah.
those thoughts away.
yeah. So, but that time it was, I think, the realest that I'd ever felt it, and I was alone. I wrote my suicide note, and I called it an ending note. I started with like a blanket apology to everyone in my life, and I was like, if you're reading this, then I'm sorry I couldn't do it anymore. And then I wrote a note specifically for my dad, and I was writing one for my mom when I just like, I was like crying my eyes out because I'm like, this woman, she's already lost a daughter, and how can I do this to her? And I was just like, I like, it was that over and over again. And I used to smoke cigarettes back then, so I went in the balcony, and I remember I looked up at the sky, and I was like, I lit up a cigarette, and I said, God, I don't know if you're out there, but if you are, I could really use a sign right now.
Yeah.
And by the time I put it out, I got a call from this friend of mine I hadn't spoken to in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes like, are you okay? And I was like, what? And he's like, I've been having dreams about you, and I've been like, you just don't, like, I'm not able to get the thought of you out of my mind. I need to know if you're okay.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
But I knew in that moment that I don't know what it's for, but I know there's something worth staying for. And when I look back, I don't think I ever thought that thing was going to be me, I always thought it was something outside me.
Yeah.
But now I realize
It's a new
I'm
life.
worth staying for.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud of you. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So that point on, you changed everything after that.
No, I did, however, make a deal with God.
What was the deal?
So my deal was, around that time is when I came across NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, we'll get into what that is. But yeah.
But I learned about it, and there was like a course training happening in the summer. And I was like, and the guy who was telling me about it, he said, listen, this is going to change your life. And if it doesn't, you don't pay for it. Like, and
This was in Dubai?
This was happening virtually.
Okay.
But I connected with him through a friend of mine.
Right.
And I thought that's BS.
Of course.
I was like, I was
Yeah.
doing my degree in psychology, dude. I was like, who are you, bro? You know?
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, okay, fine. So like that seemed like the only way out, right? At the time. So I said, you know what, God, you sent this opportunity to me. I'm going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But if when I'm done with this, I still don't feel like better,
Yeah.
that's when I'm going to end my life.
Yeah.
And even the guy who introduced me to it, I told him this as well. And he was like, okay, fine, like, let's shake on it. He's like, if this doesn't change your life, I will help you kill yourself.
Damn.
Word for word.
Yeah.
I was like, bet, you know? So it was like, you know, like I went in it with like zero like nothing. Like I was like, I have nothing to lose. What's the worst that's gonna happen?
Yeah.
You know, if it's
Yeah.
not gonna work out,
Just another try.
you
Yeah.
know? And it did.
It worked. That's good.
It did, you know, and I don't think there's ever a day when I'm not grateful for it.
So that's what you sort of discovered, that I am what I should be looking forward to, or this is a realization you had later on?
No, I think that's the realization.
What made it change?
When I did that, I walked out and I said, oh my God, healing is possible. And no matter what you're going through, life can be better. And so I knew that I knew my purpose since I was 13, right? Which was to serve, to be of service, and to impact people's lives for the better, right? To like, at the time it translated as to save people's lives, because my sister, she was 7 when she passed away, and a
Healing
cardiologist.
is saving.
Yeah,
So.
it is, you know. So I was like, that's what I want to do. And at that time, that's what, like, you know, it revived my purpose. And I was like, yeah, you know, like,
you felt healed, you felt
I
like
felt healed,
empowered,
and I felt
that you could change.
I could change. And also, like, it was like, oh my God, like, this is how I get to you know, like, live my purpose. Like, it became about the other, you know, because the change in me I felt was so great.
Yeah.
And I felt like, you know, oh my God, like I feel like life is beautiful. Like, what, you know?
Yeah.
I'm waking up with a smile on my face. Like, I have energy every day.
Yeah.
Like, that was so foreign to me. So then, you know, like, it was instantly like, that's what I want to give to the world, you know? So that's what I feel like got me going for like 2 years. That just this drive to be of service to like as many people as possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I feel like from my perspective, you took control, right? And to put it very simply, and you took life by the horns and you changed it.
Yeah.
So life is rewarding you for that. You're rewarded for your effort.
Yeah.
And you put effort and you're rewarded for that. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's very rarely do we have emotional conversations, because but this is good. This is good. Okay, so what do you do? You mentioned what you do now. You also wrote a book at the age of 23, which is phenomenal. Very rare to see. So what is this book about, and why is this so special? Well, it shows what's this about. It's your life story. But
you know, I think
Aeina has, by the way, she's very literal about a few things. Her podcast is called The Aeina Show. So I'm going to be on there tomorrow. I hope I do justice. But yeah, she's very literal, as you can see. Her book's called The 23-Year-Old Life Coach.
You know, when I was publishing this, the woman, like, you know, who was helping me with my project and everything, she came up to me and she goes, are you sold on the name? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, you know, it could be like purpose this and this, that. And I was like, no, like, you know, because the name came to me first. It was like, you know, the inspiration started with the name.
Okay, that's...
And, you know, like the moment I knew the name, I literally, within the next hour, I had the outline, and then like 13 days I had the book. So it was like,
wow.
I was like, I'm not changing.
Yeah, she did it in 13 days, by the way, which is crazy.
It's nothing. But no, I feel like it's it was done through me.
Yeah.
Like all inspired things that we do. I think we're just vessels for it.
Yeah.
But I think what makes this special for me, at least, is that I wanted this book to be one for people who are looking for resonance, you know, because I feel like I grew up feeling misunderstood. I grew up feeling like I'm the only one who feels this way. And not just like, we all know, like, okay, depression's a thing, anxiety's a thing. We all know that theoretically.
Yeah.
But rarely does anyone go like, you know what? These were my exact thoughts. These were my exact feelings.
Yeah.
And I used to shame myself for it, right? And that was one of the biggest reasons, like, I would always like empathize with people a lot and go like, no, like, if you got nobody, I'm in your corner, you know? Like, that was like, I think always like my love language, to just be there for people,
because
right?
nobody was there for you.
Yeah.
Or that's how you felt.
Yeah.
Of course.
So this book is that, where I was like, you know, even if one person reads it, and when they read it, all they feel is that someone gets me. Like, you know, because I don't think my experience is unique. I think it's an experience we all go through, but very few of us talk about it because we shame ourselves for going through it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's human, right? And we in our society have, I feel like, you know, we've built walls around humanness, and sort of like we expect people to like behave a certain way, and like, you know, when you're in social settings, don't talk about this, don't bring this up.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is, you know, like, this is that. It's everything they tell you not to talk about.
Yeah.
And you know, like, I'm no expert, but
you're
I
just
think,
sharing your story,
yeah,
so.
it's just a story. And what I hope that, you know, like, even if someone finds one lesson, one learning, one insight, like the last chapter is like, you know, like a little workbook to help you reflect from whatever I've shared. Like, now you take it in your own life and go like, okay, well, what is this gift
Draw
of
out
life?
your sort of map. And so you sort of want to normalize people sharing more of these stories, because the more we share, the more people can relate to it, and the more they feel comfortable sharing their story.
Speaking of stories,
yes,
what got you here?
What got me to Karachi?
To Wiser. Hey, I know you got on a plane to get here.
What got me to Wiser? Look, I grew up in a world where I was told that money is the answer, and if you make money, a lot of money, then it's going to solve all your problems. But fortunately or unfortunately, I grew up in a very privileged environment, so money was never scarce for me, but it never really solved any problems. So then the journey became, then what is the answer? Because everybody keeps saying, because we live in a capitalistic world, right? So we're taught to chase money, and everything comes after. But being privileged, I was also exposed to a lot of high net worth individuals, and all of them had a lot of money, but they weren't happy, they were stressed, they didn't have time for their family, and I didn't want to be that. So then this journey started of what is the answer, and I found that, to put it short, I found that in growth, like the worthiness that you really feel, that you are something, you're capable, you're enough. I find that worthiness in growth. Every time I question my limitations, my boundaries, mentally or physically, I just feel like a new person. I feel like I've let go of a part of me that was holding me back, and I've emerged as this new being who's refined, who's better. And yeah, that is what Wiser is for me. Just the wise thing to do for me is to invest in that. That's why it's called Wiser. And this platform just allows me to manifest that, be exposed to that, share that with as many people as I can. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. primarily it's for me. It benefits a lot of other people, as I've been told. So that's just an added benefit, because I just feel like I cannot serve anybody until I can serve people, but I'm only going to serve them up to the level and capacity where I'm at, right? So the best way to be of service to anybody is to be of service to yourself first. Charity begins at home.
Yeah.
Right? The more I invest in myself and the better I become, the more I can inspire other people around me, the more I can change their life, the more positive light I can be in their life.
Yeah.
Right? We're always changing energy, exchanging energy. Even something as small as passing on a smile to a stranger on the road or whatever. That smile makes a huge difference. It's an exchange of energy. We don't notice it, but let's say you smile at someone on the road. That person will smile back at you. They go back home, they're in a lighter mood. They smile at their partner. They smile at their kids. Let's take the opposite side of the story. You see crying someone on the street. You're not going to laugh at them, right? You're going to be in a sad mood. That energy is going to affect you. You're going to go home. You're going to share that energy. This is all happening subconsciously, right? So you don't do it consciously, but whatever you are is what you give, right? So if you make sure this is the best person ever, then that's what you're going to give to other people. And it comes down to then what am I giving, right? Because I can pour from an empty cup, but emptiness is all I'm pouring. There's no substance in it, right? So you're always pouring, you're always giving your energy to other people, good or bad. It's just about me being conscious about what I'm pouring and making sure that it's potent in the right way.
It reminds me of a quote Jim Rohn said. He said, the greatest act of love I can do for you is take care of myself.
Yeah.
And the greatest act of love you can do for me is take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think in relationships especially, when there's like any relationships, right? Like be it an intimate or friendship or anything with our families, it's like when you are day in and day out, like you're grounding yourself, you're showing up from the heart and not the mind, because the mind can be unkind.
Yeah.
And it can distort and it can make us believe so many things that are not true.
Yeah.
And when we get caught up in that, that's when we miss and we fall off grace.
We forget the heart.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes, like me judging you or scrutinizing
and it's subconscious
or blaming you. So you don't even recognize it, right?
Yeah.
So when we lean within first, we're able to mirror the same to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's our legacy is our energy.
Yeah. I feel like it's the most selfish but also the most selfless act in a way.
Yeah.
And this is hard because you find it easier to do things for other people, but it's hard to do things for yourself.
Yeah.
Be it anything.
Yeah.
And part of that, our society has
messed
up a lot of things. This is one of them.
I want to ask you this. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you what's,
why do I think
why do you think it's
to do
easier
things for other people? I think because that's how we've been taught. That's part of it, societal conditioning. But also, I think evolutionary, we've always lived in packs, and we've always gotten recognition and appreciation by belonging to a pack and then doing something, being valuable and being useful for the pack, because we were hunter-gatherers, right? So we lived in tribes. So if you're being valuable and useful for the pack, then you receive appreciation, you receive validation. Suddenly you're someone who people look up to, you're valuable. I think evolutionary-wise, that's why we find it easier to do things for others. Because when you used to do things for yourself, it's maybe considered selfish. Might be, right? Are you considering the whole tribe, or are you just being selfish and doing things for yourself?
Hmm.
But now things are different, right? We're independent human beings. Everybody is. And that sort of dependency on a tribe, be it for if you want to feel like you want to belong there, or you want to share food, or you want to sleep, whatever it may be, they used to do all of it together. It's like a small family doing everything together. But now we're individual human beings, right? We're our own person. So we have to have this transition and shift from doing things for others to doing things for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because then it's truly genuine, I would say.
Yeah.
If you're doing it for other people, there's some ulterior motive attached.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was validation and appreciation. I feel like today is the same as well,
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
But it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
What do you think?
I think from an evolutionary perspective, like for sure, that makes sense. But also like in the everyday, like if we look at what you were talking about, conditioning, right?
Yeah.
Like if we look at how we were raised,
Yeah.
all the people around us, we saw them like literally like praise those values.
Yeah.
You know, each value, like be it niceness, be it politeness, be it like, you know, being of service to other people, being helpful.
Yeah.
Any value at an extreme is not sustainable or
No.
healthy.
Yeah, no.
But like, you know, when we were kids, if you grew up in a household where being a giver was celebrated, then you learned that, and then you saw that your parents, your mom or your dad, they would do the absolute most for, you know, everyone else, and then they would come home and resent them because maybe they didn't mirror that back.
Yeah.
The expectations were
Why
broken.
should they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like there's this guy, I think he's called the trauma doctor. I always forget his name, but he said this thing. He was like, your yes means nothing if you don't know how to say no. And that is so, like, that's literally my wallpaper on my phone. That is so powerful because
Wow.
it's like and the example he gave was this. He said, if I'm coming to your city, he was on a podcast, and he's like, if I'm coming to your city and I ask you, hey, would you want to go for coffee? And you've got like a billion things going on, right? Like you cannot afford to take out the time. But then you think that, oh, like he's going to feel bad, or like I need to, like, you know, whatever. You feel obligated to say yes to me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And you show up and then you have the coffee for me, but you're not going to be fully present because deep down you didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And then when you leave, you're going to resent me subconsciously just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to think, man, like, you know, it wasted my time, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so if we can literally just like lean in and go like, do I want to do this because I would enjoy it or because I feel compelled to do it, right? And it's like that shift is everything.
Yeah.
Because I was like the biggest people pleaser up until like this time last year. So this entire year was unlearning
Learning
that
to say
for
no.
me,
Yeah.
you know? I like, you know, I used to think that it was a praise when people would be like, oh, Anna's such a nice person. Anna's such a nice person. Anna, you're too nice. And then this year I was like, well, you know, that's an insult.
Let me show.
You know, I am not nice. But I was using you, like what I was gaining was safety.
Yeah.
That if you're pleased with me, I feel
Won't ask
safe
questions,
because I won't know how to feel safe in my own body. I don't know how to feel safe in my own body.
Yeah.
So I think most people do struggle with that.
Yeah.
And it, you know, that's a whole different bowl, but like that's the point, that, you know, like knowing how to feel safe in your body, because like you said, like we're individuals now, you know, we don't need tribes to thrive. In fact, if anything, the more we are in our own energy, the more we're able to serve the tribe, you know, or
100%.
community or whatever.
Yeah. From a very pure place without ulterior motives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sense of belongingness is important for sure, but it needs to come from a right place.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be you shouldn't feel obliged to do something, because then the inception of that thing isn't, you started wrong, so it's
Yeah.
gonna end wrong.
I think if you can belong to yourself.
Yeah, that's the first place
Yeah.
you should belong to, and then obviously, then the need for validation and belongingness is gone, right? So then you're truly yourself. After that, whatever manifests is truth. There's no ulterior
Yeah.
motives, right? When you can truly be there for other people, not because you want to belong, not because you want something in return, not because you're not comfortable with yourself. You just show up because that's just who you are. You're light,
Yeah.
you know?
I love that.
Yeah. So,
Yes, I am.
yes, you're light. Okay. Aeina P, you have so many titles attached to your name. Which one means the most to you, and why? Which one is that you want to see it through till the end, and that sort of represents you in the best way possible?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I think all of the titles slapped next to my name are pretty intertwined.
Of course. Yeah.
So, it's like, it's not about doing the one thing for me, but rather I think each time another title is added, it allows me to expand my capacity to do what I do, which is not, at the core, it's not like anything formal. It's, I think, showing up from your heart and just having the tools to allow people to bridge the gap between where they are and where they'd like to be. So, I don't necessarily limit any of like my work to one, thing that, like I'm just doing NLP. Like, for example, I'm a trainer and I certified coaches this year. That was my first batch. I was very proud of it. But I didn't just teach NLP, like what traditional NLP,
course,
I added like all these different things.
Your own learnings, yeah.
Because I think one thing I've realized is that over the years, the more my own like ability to understand human behavior evolves, the more I'm like, oh, okay, so this is a better way to do that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a structured way. A lot of things that I do, processes that I've created were actually intuitively guided.
Yeah.
They weren't formal things that were taught.
Yeah.
So I think what matters most to me when it really comes down to it is the ability to show up from the heart. That's all. Like, that is all.
And serve from that place.
Yeah. Because
whatever capacity that is in. Because title is just
it's
a name
just that, it's that knowing that I'm not like, I'm not an expert. I'm your teammate.
Yeah.
We're doing this together. Like, I think the disconnect I experienced when I got into like the
Felt
coaching,
very different from the...
when I got into the coaching industry and I worked with a few coaches, it would be very like, hands off. Like, it would be like, okay, well, this is what you need to do. Go do it. Right. And I was like, I'm an experience. Like, I like to like get my hands in there, get them dirty. I want to ask like a billion questions. I'm George the monkey for God's sake. Like, I have questions, And even in school, like I was always that kid. Like, everyone would understand stuff, right? Like the teacher says it once and I'm like, wait, what are we doing? So I feel like my like it comes from that like bridging that inner gap that, okay, well, anyone out there who's like me, who has like a million questions, and you want me to walk your hand through it, so I'll work one-on-one with like not a lot of people at a time, but I'll make sure I'm like your best friend while we're doing it, like I'm right there with you, like you text me.
Because you think that's impactful.
Yeah. And it does, like you, and the best part is that when you so the first thing I do when I start working with a client is a breakthrough session, okay? And a breakthrough session is like 13 questions, and I transcribe the whole thing.
For NLP?
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly just
It's mindset coaching, basically. It's
NLP
like...
is mindset coaching.
Yeah, so it's like you kind of understand how the language of the brain, right? How it's structured, and then you upgrade your inner software.
Yeah. Amazing. So it's reprogramming.
Yeah, it is. And I think trauma leaves a legacy, you know? So a lot of it is just like when we say reprogramming the mind, it's also like, you know, releasing that legacy of the trauma, integrating it, not releasing it, integrating it. So the stored emotions in the body, you've got your sadness, anger, grief, betrayal, all of those. You've got, you know, the worthiness, shadow wounds, you know, the inner child stuff. So like integrating the past, releasing what does not serve you, and then like manifesting the life that you're calling in. And updating like
seems like
yourself.
a hard process, but Aeina P is great at what she does, so I'm sure she'll make it easy. I have one last question for you. What's been the most impactful, like best moment for you in this journey? Like you're like, this is why I do this, and this is why I will continue to do this. Doesn't have to be anything big. It's just something not something that was big on the outside, but something that really
I'll tell you the first thing that popped up, and I kind of forgotten that this happened, but it just popped up. I don't remember when this was. I think it was earlier this year. There was this woman, she reached out to me on Instagram, and she had seen my like YouTube video or something, right? And she was like, I need coaching and stuff like that. And I was like, bet, girl, I got you. And I scheduled a free session with her, discovery call. I started talking to her, and she starts telling me like, you know, everything going on with her. And in that moment, like I knew that, you know, like she really needs the help, right? Like she really needed it, right? I was at a point where like I had so many like projects going on that another pro bono, like I do pro bonos every, like, you know, with every batch of my clients, but that was like one I couldn't add at the time for one-on-one coaching. And I was like, you know, how can I be authentic to myself and be of service to her? And I started thinking, and anyways, I was on call with her for like 3 hours. Usually my discovery call is like 30 minutes, right? And I told myself, I was like, girl, I'm just going to be so present and like just all the love and energy I can pour into her in this time, I'm going to do that, right? Anyway, I do that. I get off call with her, and I have like this paid community where I have like, you know, a bunch of workshops, you know, pre-recorded workshops that I did with my inner circle. So each is like 3-hour-long workshops, you know, and it's like a paid community. It's got meditations, like really powerful meditations. And I was like, you know, maybe that's what I could send her, right? So I sent her the link to those, like both those folders. And I was like, look, I can't work with you right now, but like, you know, I really, really want to be of service.
You had a genuine intention to help her.
And I sent her those
But not
things.
at the cost of your...
Yeah. So I sent her those things, and I also sent her like a lot of other resources that I had, like, you know, my guides that everything I could, you know. I forgot about it. Like, you know, I was like, you know, I gave it anyways. A week later, she sent me this voice note, and she was like crying her eyes out. And she's like, you know, I watched 2 of your workshops and I did a few of your meditations, and I just don't know what to say. Like, you know, she's like, you don't understand, like, you know, what that meant to me. Like, I was so deep down in my darkness, and like, you know, just that one step, like, I have been praying for you in every prayer, and like, you know, may God, like, she just like, you know, just gave me like heartfelt prayers, right? And man, like, I cried. I was like, you know, to me, it was a matter of like collecting stuff that I've created over the years and like just sending it to a person, right? But to her, it took up space, so much space in her heart. And I was like, God, thank you, you know, for giving me the privilege. That's it.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, changing somebody's life, there's no virtue higher than that. And
we're all just vessels.
We're doing that in a lot of ways. So kudos to you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
and sharing
having
your
me.
wisdom. We really appreciate you.
I hope you're wiser now.
A bit more wiser. Where can people reach out to you? Where can they follow you? Where can they see your work?
My Instagram, it's AeinaP.co. My YouTube
Aeina
is Aeina
spelled
P.
this way, by the way.
Yeah.
Aeina.
Don't fall for the pronunciation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to connect. And thank
we'll
you so
add
much.
in everything in the description as well.
Yeah, it's been a privilege to do this with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
And
I wanna. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say these people are gonna see you tomorrow. Too.
Yeah, we're recording another podcast here tomorrow, so that's gonna be fun. I want to thank everybody as well for joining us and sticking by till the end. We truly appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Bye bye.